Welcome to the new broadcast and streaming of the course called as called hydrogen production, storage and transportation. Hydrogen production, storage and transportation. Here we are going to see how we can produce hydrogen and through which various technologies we can able to transport the hydrogen, and ultimately how we can be able to use commercially as a hydrogen. So this lecture series will be going much more important for the hydrogen, for the people who wants to be explore hydrogen as a fuel. So let's begin without much more introduction. As such, hydrogen has potential. It was previously also being used in the industries, various industries, whether it is refinery or else it is production of fertilizers. So for our index indicates the credit I'll give to the IIT Bombay for this Professor Pratibha Sharma, and in this index the properties of hydrogen we'll going to see. Then we'll see status of hydrogen supply and demand. Then we will see methods of hydrogen production. Then we will see steam methane reforming. In that we'll have much more detail in part 2 steam methane reforming, and then in lecture 6 we'll see steam reforming of higher hydrocarbons, how we can reform the higher hydrocarbons for ultimately the production of hydrogen through steam reforming. And then in lecture 8, that is for week 2, we will see the advanced method of steam reforming, and then after we'll see the partial oxidation of hydrogen production. So oxidation of hydrogen through various methods we'll see in depth, and how partial oxidation can also help for hydrogen production. And then after we'll ultimately going to see the autothermal forming. By means of thermal we are reforming the hydrocarbons and producing hydrogen. And then in lecture 11 we are seeing combined dry, bi and tri reforming. And then in lecture 12 we are seeing to reforming using alternate energy sources. And then ultimately tutorial 2 will be issued. After that, week 3 consists of all of the following lectures as I have mentioned. And then lecture 20, this all details you can read by pausing the screen. Ultimately we move to the today's lecture. You can also refer week 6 and week 7 for more details, and after that we'll move towards week 8 and week 9. Week 9 is going to be lengthy, week 8 is much more easy than week 9. So after week 9 we are going to see the week 10, which is consist of lecture 54 to 60. ये lecture में कोई doubt है तो बताइए. So we are going to see yes, I was checking my 10, live stream, which is consist of lecture 54 to 60. ये lecture में कोई doubt है तो बताइए. Yes, I am getting that my lecture series is being perfectly matching with audio and with the video visuals also. So yeah, in week 10 we are going to see lecture 54 to 59, that all the topics you can refer while pausing the video. And then week 11, which is the last second week, we'll see how we can ultimately use the practical hydrogen fuel in practical life. 61 of use of hydrogen in internal combustion engine. In more detail we will see use of hydrogen in fuel cells, how we can hydrogen sensing, how hydrogen sensing is being done, and then ultimately the last week 12 deals with the properties of hydrogen associated with accidents, like how hydrogen can lead to the accidents, which properties showcasing ultimately leads to the accidents. And then comes the lecture 66, which is a classification of hydrogen related hazards. Ultimately we have to classify, as such we are dealing with hydrogen which is more compressed in compressible form, and ultimately which is none of the less in compressed form is highly flammable and can cause explosion if not handled properly. And then we are going to see compressed and liquid hydrogen related hazardous regulations, codes and standards which are being maintained by the Indian governments, issued by government, utilization in different sectors, global status and future directions. After that we'll conclude the syllabus of hydrogen production. So yeah, welcoming again, and this is HEMANSHU, and we are starting with the hydrogen production energy, that is storage, production and transportation we are dealing with, and also we are seeing some of the safety factors. Ultimately we are dealing with the highest flammable fuel. So eventually hydrogen derived from hydro and gene. If we are seeing the hydrogen, then it divides into two of the uh, words, which is hydro plus genes. Hydro genes, that is meaning of hydro is water and genes means to produce, that it indicates that hydrogen is being produced from water. Most abundant elements in the universe, hydrogen is not being found. Ultimately due to much more diffusivity, the hydrogen which is being found in our earth's atmosphere or environment is much comparatively less than in the universe. It is being more found in highest quantity in the universe. Ultimately it is the richest in energy per unit masses. That is why people or scientists or the engineering are exploring the hydrogen as fuel, as it has potential to have highest energy per unit mass. That is 1 kg of hydrogen can produce 120 megajoules of energy at low heating value, LHV. So it is the lowest value at lowest heating value, which is giving 120 megajoule, and that's why it can be as act as it can be exploded as it is in highly compressed state while it being used as fuel. So we'll see in depth also how we can handle that high compressed and why we have to compress it highly. Hydrogen when burnt in air produces water as a byproduct. Ultimately you know all these points. It can use of the diverse, it like you all know, like what where it can use, like it can be used in diverse form, like wherever there is sustainable energy sources. So hydrogen is being used. Ultimately there are different types of hydrogens also, as I have previously mentioned. Hydrogen was being used in chemical industry. Ultimately the maximum part of hydrogen was used in refineries, though it is being used in current era. Long term large scale storage which can be integrated with renewable, it has potential that it can be integrated with renewable for storing long term. So yeah, 75% by mass is made up of hydrogen, as we come to know, and 90% by volume it is present in the universe. However, in the earth atmosphere the quantity is very small because of very high diffusivity of hydrogen. So we got to this point, and thus Now properties of hydrogen. Starting with the properties of hydrogen. Hydrogen is the simple element and the first one in the periodic table. It is the lightest element, having one proton and one electron in atomic form. Due to this arrangement, it is very reactive and not found as atomic hydrogen. Ultimately, as it is being not found, it combines with various elements, forming either waste or different hydrocarbons or organic compounds. So atomic hydrogen does not exist, it exists in diatomic molecules, and thus molecules, if to be dissociated to form hydrogen, requires a high dissociation energy, that is energy required of 435 kilojoule per mole. As such, hydrogen is colorless, odorless, tasteless gas, flammable, non-corrosive, non-toxic in nature, but it can act as an affixant, while much more concentration of hydrogen can be act as affixant if there is low concentration of oxygen in comparatively hydrogen. If hydrogen is confined space, then it can displace oxygen. Hydrogen can easily displace oxygen if it is in closed environment, and reducing oxygen level and thereby can cause breathlessness. If it reduces the oxygen level below a certain level, say 12% by volume, then it can lead to severe health challenges, unconciseness and others. As well as hydrogen has very low density of 0.08 kg per meter cube. It is 14 times lighter than air. It has very high diffusivity and buoyancy. Whereas hydrogen exists in three different isotopic forms: protium, wherein there is one proton and mass of it is 1.008. It makes up relatively abundance of high 99.98%. Deuterium, it has mass of 2.014 and abundance of 0.02%. Tritium, having a mass of 3.016, but it occurs in extremely small amount, can be produced during nuclear reactions. So hydrogen has very low solubility in solvents, but it has a very high solubility in metals. Hope you are with me and getting all the points. Mass of 3.016, but it occurs in extremely small amount, can be produced. And then we are going to see the properties of hydrogen. So if you look at the phase diagram, which is rightly here, please pause the video and refer this diagram, phase diagram of hydrogen, which is very important for you guys. So there are different regions wherein hydrogen exists in form of solid, liquid and gas. Triple point of hydrogen means wherein all three phases is coexisting is at 13.8 Kelvin, that is minus 259 degrees Celsius, and pressure of 7.2 kilopascal, which is very low. Hydrogen is boiling is at 253 centigrades, that is at 20 K atmospheric pressure. That is why this boiling point can be increased. Hydrogen can still be liquefied at higher pressures to maximum of minus 240 degrees centigrades or 32.2 Kelvin at a pressure of 1.3 megapascal, which is critical beyond